Greetings. Hey, it's me again. All right, so let me pull up my stuff and we'll see what's going on today. Today we begin to break down attraction 41 questions. Today is question number 34. These can be found via podcast and video at YouTube channel Holistic Healing Community by Susie Jervich. Do subscribe to follow this complimentary offering of how to tune into attracting your desired goal, intent, our juicy groove, and new vibe. Today's question 34 is: do you take time to explore your own imagination? Huh. My hair. I got my hair cut yesterday. I was told by my muse to get a haircut and to wear a little bit more makeup. Can you see? I'm open. I'm receptive. Ah. So, are you making time in your life to explore your own imagination? Huh. What do you do? What are you doing right this minute that addresses the exploration of your own imagination? What are you doing in this very second? I'm talking now, now. I did a podcast this morning. My podcasts are so much more serious and kind of succinct and seems more like, more mature. My videos are so funny. Anyway, kind of what I talked about in the podcast this morning was to create a space for being in that exploration of imagination. What would it look like if you're maybe feeling not so imaginative, that maybe your life stuff is creating like little holes in the imagination bucket, and so you fill up the bucket and there's these holes. It's like all this stuff is squirting out, like you can't hang on to that imagination. So this morning on the podcast, what ended up coming up, because basically, I look at the question. Sometimes I used to do some automatic writing when I woke up, and I thought I'm just gonna just talk and see what comes out. So anyway, to create that beautiful container or space, I talked about meditation this morning and went through a little bit of a practice about just naming your breath, breathing in, breathing out, inhalation, exhalation, and creating a beautiful opportunity for connecting in with what we call the present moment now. There's this beautiful, kind of experience of illusion when we're living outside of the now, when we're living in the past or living in the future, and then noticing, like, wow, there's that's going on and this is going on. And this happened to me when I was, before birth. It gets kind of ridiculous, when you're talking about things that aren't here now. Because everything changes and has a different shade to it, whether it's past or future possibilities. So, being in this exploration of imagination feels good when you're in the now. So, for some people that are like going, I just don't know how to be imaginative. So, this idea about sitting in stillness, sitting in quiet, sitting in meditation, sitting in and just kind of gathering up all of this juicy, this being right here picked this body, and you picked your own. So being really comfortable, like just sitting in this high heart space of the body you pick, because it is just juicy looking from here. So just be really tuned in to being in stillness and really listening and just connecting in on a deep, deep soul level of exploration. They used to have that book when my kids were little, that magic bus. It was like all this stuff about going inside the human body and do get on the bus and do. I don't remember all that. Anyway, it's like so long ago. I feel like I'm just a kid and my kids are just so much older than me. I can't even believe it. Anyway, but connecting in with your higher self, coming from that heart space, heart centered love and appreciation of self, and finding that sweet spot inside of you where that creativity and that imagination is just. It's just right below the surface, right below, and it's like pulsating. You could even say it's your heartbeat is this beautiful pulsation of all this energy that is gurgling and gurgling. Now we call it the heart, or we call it the beating of the body. You could also say this is your creative center or your center of imagination. Because what you do imagine for yourself, notice how it creates for you. And then notice how your life around you responds by mirroring back to you or reflecting back to you that which you are creating through your imaginative spirit. Okay. So the more that we go into that space of imagination, and it could be dancing, it could be turning on your favorite music and doing this interpretive dance. I used to do Nia, and I loved all this, working all the joints. I was always so primitive. People were like, oh God, here comes Susie. We got to give her room because she has no spatial relationship with anything other than move in her body. Okay. Imagination could look like writing. I love to write, I love to write, and I also love to read what I write. Sometimes I'm like reading it and going, who wrote that? Who did that? Or it could be composing music. I'm all about the color, 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 color. It could be coloring. It could be painting. It could be creating or inventing something. I've got some really smart friends. I'm just so lucky to be surrounded by smart people because I get to be around people who are creating and inventing and putting patents out on stuff. And I don't even know how to even begin to do that. My little spirit gifts turned out kind of different. But when we really tap in, again, from that heart space, by being still and being quiet and tuning in to the natural rhythms of our own imaginative spirit that is within, and then as it expands out and you start really exercising it, exercising that muscle of being creative, of imagination, and just really tuning into that and watching it evolve, then you see it leaving that body, this beautiful body that you chose, and just imagining it expanding out and out and out into larger fields. And then watching and noticing how it reflects back to you. So I've been doing this. This is the 34th question. I've been doing 41 days of attraction. And I can't even begin to tell you all the things that have changed for me as my muse, Mary Wilson, was part of the muse of creating this 41 questions of attraction. And I have to say, pretty much on all fronts, that the attraction from these questions and really diving into it deeper and deeper and deeper and creating and being imaginative and being in play and pleasure and juicy. I'm all about juicy. A lot has shifted for me because the vibe I'm putting out. Now, sometimes I wake up and I read the question, I'm like, womp, 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 feeling kind of funky, man, And so you may be noticing it sometimes if you watch a video or listen to a podcast that the energy is a little different. Well, I still show up. I still show up and go, listen, this is where I'm at. So a lot has changed for me in 34 days. I've got 41 to go. Whew. So I'm excited to see what else is going to manifest. So I've been manifesting pretty fast, and there's just a whole string of goodness that's come from it, and beauty, and spiritual awakening. It's almost that imagination fluid has just been came through right through the crown of my head, and it's just been, just operating as a beautiful technology of juicy, juicy liquid throughout my system, just inviting and invoking and encouraging and igniting that what's been inside of me. And I know for those that contact me about these videos and podcasts, I know that you're having your own experience. And I'm super stoked about your imaginative evolution. Mm. Hmm. So when you're going into that meditative spirit or that meditative position, to open and ignite the imagination within your own self, what we ask you to do is a very, very simple thing, and it's free. It's not going to be a big burden in your life. Is that you take your, I got a little cheesy phone. I love it though. Put a timer on for 5 minutes. If you don't meditate, put a timer on for 5 minutes on your phone. Okay. And then sit and sit. I'm going to put a timer while we're talking because I'm just so silly. This is exciting. I'm doing my phone and talking to you. So I'm going to give you an example of what 5 minutes means. Let me see. Timer. I didn't plan on doing this anyway, but here we are. Boom. Okay, so here's the start. So I got the timer on for 5 minutes. So while we're talking, I'll tell you when 5 minutes is up, as if you don't know. So 5 minutes, just sit in Sukhasana, which is Indian style or crisscross applesauce, but it's basically sitting on the floor, being rooted and grounded on your sits bones, and just getting all lubricated through your hips. It feels really good. And then if you're not available to be on the ground, we ask that you sit in a chair with a back on it and sit with your legs spread apart. Your feet are going to be about hip distance apart on the ground. Your hands will be palms up, whether you're sitting in Sukhasana or sitting in the chair. So palms open and open to the beautiful sky above, and your feet are grounded at the beautiful Gaia below. And just in the chair, you're going to just sit back and just rest into the chair. And if you're on the ground, just settle into your beautiful opening of your hips and your knee joint and your ankles. Feeling good. And then all you do, and as you're doing this meditation, is just in your own way, just quietly saying to yourself, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And that's all you do. You don't need to say it out loud or do anything different, but just saying to yourself, breathing in, and then saying to yourself, breathing out. Okay, so this is what it will look like. So to be, okay, so take about three. I think it was 3 breath cycles there. So you might notice as I was going through those breath cycles, and I was doing what's called Ujjayi breath, which is a victory breath, is that as I was breathing, I do put a smile on my face. It's just this beautiful release. And then noticing how the eyes soften. So whether your eyes are open or closed, just relaxing your eyes, even if they're behind closed eyelids, relaxing the eyes and relaxing and softening your face. Softening that face. This is part of this meditation. You don't need to focus on anything. You just go breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Things will come up. For people who are new to meditating, they may feel like, I got things to do. This I don't have time for 5 minutes, or they might be like itchy. A lot of times you get itchy, or sometimes if you're not used to sitting on the ground in Sukhasana, then you may be feeling, I got needles and pins in my feet. I can't do this. I've done a lot of yoga workshops. We sit all day long like that. We don't even know that we even have legs anymore after it. So this is a beautiful exercise to be still and be quiet. And there's no thought necessary. As things come up, they come up and they rise. And just like a cloud that's floating by, you just allow that feeling or sensation or that thought or, whatever. Just allow it to be, and no labeling, no judging. It just is. And just notice and get back to your breath, breathing in and breathing out. So when you're in that place, you'll find that 5 minutes isn't very long. And then you'll be like, I could have done more. And then for some people who are really tuned in to meditating and don't even know it, then they find like, I could totally do longer than that. So just feel into what's right for you. But the main thing is just tuning in with your breath. This really gets you present moment aliveness and present moment juicy. So when you're there in that position, when you come up out of that, notice what arises in your body. So the body is our biggest messaging system. So just notice what arises there. Play with your imagination, see what shows up, and may you be blessed.